never a prophet in your own land. You can say it to your friends, and they just sort of say, well, I don't want to talk about that right now. And I think, well, okay, I mean, you can only lead a horse to water, but if they have no interest in their own personal survival, then, like I can't want something for someone more than he wants it for himself. So,
yes.
I think they're going to be out of luck, and then they'll wonder why. They'll wonder what happened. And yes, I do think it's our job. Now, here's what we have against us, of course, is a fraudulent education system.
Yes, of course.
Frauds.
Of course.
Talk about locking up darling little active children to listen to this programming, this nonsense about, oh, good grief, it drives me crazy. I mean, and then, of course, you have to say, what parent would do that to a child, to put him someplace where, well, don't get me started on the education system. Pardon me, the school system. I don't have a problem with education. It's schooling that's definitely just wrong for children. Anyway, so then, but here's the thing, and I said to a friend, I said, it's funny, my parents' generation missed the boat completely. Their parents saw the shift. Like my grandparents must have seen the shift. They must have witnessed that there was something really wrong. For example, I had one of my grandfathers used to write an article in the Toronto paper way back in the 30s, and one of his bylines, he used to have a column, and one of his bylines was, "We are being governed and taxed to death." Well, when I saw that, I jumped out of my chair. I said, good God, it's in my DNA. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the point was, he knew there was something wrong. And so did I, unbeknownst. But you see, my father, or my parents' generation, they missed the whole thing. They didn't witness it going from real to unreal. And their parents didn't know enough to say, this is the way it used to be and look how bad it is now. So they kind of missed the whole thing, and they didn't live long enough to hear me say to them, look, you were the generation that was completely unconscious. At least my grandfather knew there was something wrong. But I'm not saying that my parents didn't have a glimpse of it. I'm just saying they were powerless. They were raised in the bad system, and they weren't powerful enough to do something about it. So my grandparents' generation knew there was something wrong, and here we are, 2 generations later, doing something about it because we've gotten the message that we're it, and if we don't do something about it, we're all sunk.
Yes. And hasn't it maybe something to do as well? It depends on the nature of the time that you're living in. If you're kind of in a happy state, so to speak. If your surrounding is good, you're having a good job, you have the money, you have kind of no reason to upset the system, right? Then you don't want to rock the boat in that position. But if you're under some kind of pressure or the system that you're in isn't providing for you, then you consequently begin to ask questions as well. So in a way, it's kind of good that these kind of minor little tragedies, if you will, that temporarily financial system is a bit low, but that spawns people to actually ask questions about the system itself and the nature of it. Isn't that right?
Perfect. You are right on. That's exactly it. Let's face it, we all know wealthy people who say, well, I'm hardly going to do something about it. It's worked for me.
Yes.
But we know way more people who have been beaten up. I mean, I said to a friend yesterday, I said, I don't even think I associate with anybody who hasn't been to jail.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? There's just so many people who have gotten into some trouble, some form of trouble, from the alleged authorities. They're not authorities, but because it's spreading, they're so desperate, they're picking on people that, 50 years ago, if you heard they were in trouble with the law, my God, this was unheard of. But now it's everybody. I mean, everybody knows somebody that's in trouble. So, you're right. We could look at this as a blessing in disguise because that's what builds the fire under us, right, and makes us move.
Yeah.
Because how many of us would have continued to sit back? In fact, I get letters and emails all the time from people who say, I was just going along like everything was, I guess it's good enough. And then suddenly, bam, I got hit with this. Well, now I'm taking a look at it. Well, this is actually good. I mean, I'm sorry that people are losing their houses and worse.
Yeah, of course.
Being locked up. got it. There's something wrong here. We
Yes.
need to fix this. We need to take a look at it. Now, I will say this. Unfortunately, for the past dozen years or so, which is as long as I've been doing this, we've been fighting them. We've been saying, you can't do this to us. And, of course, that's absolutely the wrong way to tackle anything, never mind this. So, fortunately, somebody got it into his brain to say, maybe this is supposed to work for us. Maybe this has been designed to work for us. Let's take a look at that and see where that might be. Well, sure enough, he came up with, it's written in their laws. They're supposed to be working for us. We just got these rogue agents in there temporarily who shouldn't be there. They're just, selfish, arrogant bastards. Oh, pardon me.
It's fine. You can say it.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, who are essentially just taking advantage of a situation.
Yes.
And they're not serving their brothers, and that's going to come back and bite them. It really will. They're going to be sorry someday that they've hurt their fellow man, because you can't get away from that stuff, can you? So anyway, the way to fix it is simply to say, do your job, and if you're not going to do your job, then I will file a commercial lien against you, and that will freeze everything, and that'll make you do your job. So it's kind of, but you don't tell them, you just do it.
Sure.
Now, it's a bit of a process, filing this commercial lien. It's not that hard, but it's, you kind of have to sort of know what you're doing, and most people don't.
How about lawyers? Is there any kind of people in regards to how this operates that you actually can go to and ask for this, or is that a bad idea to go to a lawyer or something like that?
Well, number one, lawyers don't know what we're doing.
Okay, right.
They've made the effort to find out.
Right.
They're completely in the dark. In other words, you think about people who have been misled. Holy jumping. So not only do they not know, if you go to them, because they're so dependent upon their position, like they've been so brainwashed, they'll defend their position right or wrong. So there's really no point in talking to them, right? So the other thing is, if you hire an attorney to represent you, well, now you've just given away your sovereignty, right? Because you're not declaring that you're a man on the land and you can manage your own affairs.
Yes.
You're actually crying to somebody saying, will you help me? Well, that doesn't get you anywhere, does it? So,
yes.
I'd leave the attorneys out of it. They don't know. They're not going to help you.
Yes.
Unless you got one who's got an open mind, but I've never met one. But anyway.
So, let's see here, for people that are then interested to kind of in really following up this, and let's say that the listeners are in the US or in Canada, Australia, or even somewhere in Europe, in Scandinavia. What would you recommend the first thing to do? I guess go through your book, of course, and read that thoroughly. But then at that point, is there a website somewhere you can go in order to find out more about the exact names of the documents, etc., to get things going, to get started on this?
I wish there were a very straightforward place to go. There's a whole lot on the internet about this, but it's confusing and complicated and convoluted because, I read a lot of stuff and I think, well, he could have put that into one page, and I don't want to read 50.
Yes.
And there's audios and there's all kinds of stuff. And the only thing, what I'm intending to do is, as I grasp better and better what's really going on, I intend to put my grasp of it on my blog. And even at that, if I come up with something that I think is particularly brilliant on my blog, I will, by that I mean if I find something that's brilliant, on my blog I will direct people to it. But I have this feeling that my job, because people write these documents and I read them, and first of all, they're too long, and second, they're badly written. And that annoys me because I think, well, now I don't know who you're talking about. Who's they? So it sort of bothers me. So as I come to an understanding about what this is really all about, I write an article about it and I post it. And not only does that help me understand what I'm doing, but I think it makes it easier for other people. Now, I'm not saying that I'm that I've written the best stuff out there. I'm just saying I think I'm good at making it succinct and well written, presuming that I grasp the concept accurately. But I wouldn't write anything unless I did. So if it's not there, it's because I don't get it. But
Right.
I'm catching on like way, way, way better and faster because I'm sort of doing some of the research here.
Yes.
And even if that happens to be studying other people's stuff. But I just have to say it's hard to go around and find this stuff because it's in funny places, it's convoluted, it's really long, it's hard to grasp, and it's kind of annoying. So I wish I could direct everybody someplace, like go read this.
Yes.
But I can't. I can say, listen to Winston Shrout on Monday evening, but you see, now that's really late for you. Because Monday evening is something like 7 o'clock my time, I think. So that's, the middle of the night to you. So,
Yes.
but he's on truthradio.com. If you feel, I beg your pardon, I think he archives, or pardon me, the fellow who's on there archives it.
Okay.
But what I've also found, though, is he's hard to hear on that, but that could just be my particular situation. But there's a lot of people talking about, the best thing might be just to Google 1099 OID, and as long as you're clear, though, that you're not going to just a typical accounting website. I did that myself once, and I got onto a page where somebody's trying to tell somebody how to file taxes, and it had nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Right.
So it really just will take keep looking.
Yes.
And as I say, though, and this is not to promote my blog. I don't gain anything from my blog. There's no advertising or
Well, if it's good information on there, then people need to go there and find out, and we want to have that as a resource as well. So go ahead and get it out there,
Yeah, that's it. And so I will say that when I post something on my blog, it's because I've grasped the next concept and I'm pretty clear on what we're up to. And I keep it reasonably short. Like that most recent one was 5 pages. So
do you have any plans to kind of compile the information in some form, either in a book form or a short video or some kind of presentation? Any plans to that at all?
Well, I would. I mean, I did think of putting all the articles into a book, but then I figured, well, if they're already posted on the blog, then people can go back through and just take a look at them, and none of
Sure.
them is very long.
Sure.
And a lot of them are thought-provoking. For example, how to handle, in other words, the biggest cause of the authority issue is the fact that we answer their questions. And we're not meant to answer their questions. They're the public servants. We're meant to answer theirs. So I wrote an entire article on that. And it's like when you get it through your skull, you go, oh, good grief. That's how I got myself into trouble, was I answered them. They don't have any authority over me, and they don't have any authority to ask me any questions. What's your name? Who are you?
Yes.
Right? Same as we treat somebody we
Don't want to talk to.
know. Yeah, like why have we fallen for this? It's because we were raised with a lifetime of it. The policeman is your friend.
Right.
Yeah, maybe 75 years ago, maybe, or maybe even 50 years ago, but not now.
Yeah.
They're out to collect. They're revenue collectors.
Yes.
So anyway, I wish I wish I could direct you to something that's right on top, but it's all over the place. In other words, if you Google it, you'll find something. But stick with my blog too, which you've already said is, well, it's spiritualeconomicsnow.net, and I'll be writing it as I get it, like as I know.
Yes.
So,
very good. We'll have that linked up on our website again, of course, for people who want to dive into it further. And keep an eye on there, of course, as you do updates and so forth. But I think this is a good place to begin to round things up here for this time. But, Mary, we'd love to have you back here further on if you have time for us and talk more about this and see what new comes up. And at that point, you might have, compile something more or have a more kind of, in presentation.